Avatar: The Last Airbender isn't just a show. It is a phenomenon that captures our imagination and teaches us about friendship, bravery, and the importance of balance. But now, as Netflix prepares to bring Aang and his friends back to life, we all have one burning question on our minds. Will it live up to the original? One thing I want to state right off the bat is that I'm a very new Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. I just watched the show for the first time a couple of months ago, but like most that do, I absolutely fell in love with the story and the characters. And since then, have rewatched the show, watched Korra, done a tremendous amount of research as well as TikTok watching on the subject. So at this point you can say I'm invested, and with that being said, here are my expectations for the upcoming live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. The first and most important expectation that I have is a faithful adaptation to the original animated series. Way back before it even started filming, executive producer of the show, Albert Kim, wrote a letter to fans stating that he wasn't going to try to modernize the show or make any unnecessary changes to the characters and plot. Which is very good to hear, but even more than the physical aspect is I want to see the messages and spirit of the original series very evident in this new rendition. One of the things that makes this show so special is that it's entertaining and heartfelt to a wide variety of age groups. I mean, it's a Nickelodeon show, for crying out loud, and there's still guys like me, adults, that are obsessed with it. So I hope that the new Netflix series doesn't try to change this and aim it at a specifically younger or older audience, but rather appealing to everyone so that everybody can find something special in it. Another aspect of the series that I'm hoping is well done is the special effects and the action sequences. From the trailers that we have so far, everything looks actually very beautiful, but I'm hoping that they're not just showing us the good stuff and leaving everything out. There seems to be a trend with big studio series lately of them just not looking as good, and I think it has something to do with the big LED screens that they use as their backgrounds, and they can be very well done. The Mandalorian comes to mind. I think this show looks absolutely beautiful, but on other occasions they're very noticeable, and it's almost like the shot is too clean. It doesn't look realistic at all. The world of Avatar: The Last Airbender is beautiful and diverse, and I'm hoping that they show this in the shots and that they're actually breathtakingly real to look at. In terms of the fighting and action sequences, it's obvious that bending is one of the things that makes this show so unique. And aside from the visual effects of the elements bending in thin air, which I'm sure was a difficult task to accomplish in live action, the choreography of the fights are just as important. If you didn't already know, each bending style in the original animated series is based on a real-life Chinese fighting style, and if you want to know more about that, I made a video on it, go check it out. And so it would only make sense that they would base it off the exact same styles in the live action and make it well represented and well performed. Now I know how live action adaptations work, and they're hardly ever perfectly adapted from the source material. So I wanted to talk about the changes that have been confirmed for the live action series, as well as a couple that I think would actually be a good idea. First off, one of the small ones is that the appearance of Fire Lord Ozai will not be hidden in the first series, which to me is not that big of a deal. The whole point of this was that in the animated show, his appearance was hidden. It was a mystery. And then finally, when we got to see it, it was this big reveal that was supposed to shock the audience in season 3. But because of the animated show, we already know what Ozai's gonna look like, so it would just be pointless to do this in the live action. But I think an addition that we can actually gain from this is showing us relationships between Ozai and other characters that we didn't get to see in the animated show. One person that comes to mind is Uncle Iroh. In the animated show, these two brothers have a very complex relationship that the show doesn't really dive into all that much, as Iroh was supposed to be next in line when their father, Fire Lord Azula, died, but Ozai quickly took the throne from him. So I think it'd be really neat if the live action actually delved into the relationship of Iroh and Ozai and maybe even gave us some dialogue between the two. A big change that I'm interested to see how they pull off is the inclusion of Azula as a big part of Book 1. In the animated series, Azula is only shown once or twice in Book 1, and it isn't until Book 2 that we finally get to see her in action. However, we know that she's going to be a big part of the first season of the live action series, and this has really thrown me for a loop. One of the theories that I've thought about is that maybe her alongside Ty Lee and May, since they've both been confirmed for season 1, will either replace or join one of the teams sent by Ozai to hunt the Avatar. One of these teams being the Yuyan Archers, because in one of the scenes in the trailers, and this might be a huge stretch, but Azula can be seen firing a bow and arrow, and she never did this in the animated series. But I would like to hear your theories in the comments on what you think Azula will be doing in the first season. There's also been 2 changes that were recently released that have made fans very upset. One of these being, Sokka will not be as sexist in the live action show. And this is so troubling because it's such a big part of his character and how he grows, as well as being very relevant when the gang takes a trip to Kyoshi Island and his relationship with Suki. However, nobody has stated that his sexism is completely gone, so I'm still holding out hope that this character development in Sokka isn't just completely scrapped. The other big change, which came directly from one of the creators, is that Aang will not go on as many detours for big adventures like he did in the animated series, like going to see the elephant koi. Now, I understand why this is getting as much hate as it is, as Aang is a kid and kids love to go on fun adventures. But I also understand the change, because when you think about it, this is a very high stakes situation, and though Aang is a kid, he's also the Avatar, and he would understand that you can't just always have fun. And I don't think that this is stating that Aang won't act like a kid, I just think it means that the mission will be the forefront focus of the team. All of the main points from the animated series will still be in the show, but instead of let's go to Kyoshi Island to ride the elephant koi, it'll be let's go to Kyoshi Island because maybe they have some info on the Fire Nation or something along those lines. And the final change that I am aware that is going to happen in the live action from the animated is the exclusion of Sozin's comment returning. But this one to me is completely justified, as in the animated series, all 3 seasons take place within the span of a year because he has to defeat Fire Lord Ozai before the comet comes. The problem with putting this 1-year timeline on a live action series is that seasons take months, maybe even years to create, and you're working with young actors. So if you've seen Stranger Things, you know that these actors grow up very quickly. So by the time they get around to filming season 2 or season 3, it might be 3 to 4 years later, and it just wouldn't make sense to say, oh, it's 3 months later, when all the kids look like they've aged 5 years. So removing this ticking time bomb that is Sozin's comment makes room for season 2 to have a big time jump, which will explain the kids aging. With any beloved series making the leap from animation to live action, questions and concerns are inevitable, and let's face it, fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender have been down a rocky road before. We all wish we could forget the 2010 movie. But now Netflix has a chance to address these concerns and stay true to the heart and soul of this amazing world. And that means not just getting the looks or the fight right, but also the depth of the characters, the humor, and the messages of friendship, unity, and redemption. So while we keep our hopes high for this new Netflix adaptation, I want to keep the conversation open and ask you guys in the comments, what are your biggest concerns for the upcoming series? And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.